Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Lookout. In this week's episode, we will be winding down the year. All the shows are over for the year, I believe. After recording this, this is the 21st of December. I don't think there's any more shows between now and the end of the year. If there is, please let me know. I've missed a show there. I think it's a new Instagram page. If you're on Instagram for UK sort of car stuff, there's a new page I come across it the other day. Just find that again. It's good for finding car shows in your local area. I thought we've missed that for a bit. It's been sort of few and far between. I'm pretty sure it was called just like UK car show finder as well. When I followed it quite recently, so it should be at the top. Probably the latest. At least I thought I did. Right. There we go. Card Show Finder UK on Instagram. There we go. So shout out to the people hosting that. S Rep Vault is a founder. But just say UK trading card game events in one place. Hand checked info, zero spam, always free. Made by collectors for collectors. But yeah, about the UK Card Show Finder, it does have a lot of just shows on there, as opposed to like shows that have gaming events on. They do have a website as well, which is cardshowfinder.uk. Currently got 122 total events on there, 107 upcoming, and 81 cities or towns. So there we go. Actually, just say also as of recording, this was Cheltenham show today, which I didn't know. Pokedom Trade Club. Okay, on the 21st, 27th. It's a Cotswold Pokemon card market. 30th of December, the card market Chestnut. The card market Brighton, the 2nd of Jan. So it has got quite a lot of stuff on the website already. So yeah, if you've not been over there, you may find local card shows of interest for yourself. I think it might come in handy if you're looking to go to shows. We're looking to pick up some cards and you might have a show on your doorstep, right? We're looking to sell some cards and again, it's on your doorstep. So that is that. Other news in the UK, obviously, has now gone global. The Fanatics backdooring, scenario that was brought up by Luke. They make that. I've seen a few of his stories since maybe a Netflix documentary. It was quite funny. But yeah, it's gone over to sort of stateside now. Americans have picked up on this. Been quite a lot of posts on it now. And I think that coincided with, I can't remember exactly the governor. Some governor was getting someone to look into Fanatics and their sort of, I think, was it Fanatics or just some sort of company? I can't remember if it was Fanatics or Collectors for the stranglehold they've got on the hobby at the moment. I think it's going to be a matter of time before this gets looked into properly, because I've said this for a while. It's like ungoverned gambling, really, isn't it? It's very much a bit of a loophole in the gambling scenario. So it won't be long till this probably gets looked into. It'll be interesting to see what this does, because I think, I don't say Fanatics in general, but I think the businesses have kind of looked at it this way as well. When they've come into it, talking about, we're going to make it bigger than ever, they probably looked at it from a fact of, a lot of people have been getting into it for quote unquote investment purposes for the last X amount of years, but so many breakers and people got into it through breaks for so many years that, hey, there's a lot of things to make it. This is probably why they had a breakers program, which is supposed to be getting disbanded, because maybe they know now the gig is up. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see the landscape of things. I don't think I touched this in the last pod because I don't think it was out. But obviously, with all these allegations to certain people, certain card shows, certain this, that, the other companies, whatever. Obviously, Fanatics sort of came back with not so much a cease and desist, but a sort of a warning letter to Mr. Luke Curtis to start doing what he's doing, as it's this, that, the other. I think he just needs to not name people, right? If he just didn't name people and he has facts to prove it, I think it's like fully within his rights. So, he has kind of been quiet since this little season, which is interesting. I'm going to say cease and desist, even though it wasn't a cease and desist. It just Sounds better, doesn't it? Than it just a letter, just a little letter telling him, if you continue, we're gonna do stuff to you and get you banned. Which is a bit weird. Um, so yeah, he has gone a bit quiet since. Maybe he's plotting his next move. Maybe he's heed their warnings, or maybe he's just waiting, biding his time, and then bam, more stuff gets unloaded. I think it's been interesting to see the reaction of things. So I saw, I don't want to mention any names on either side here, but I saw one big card get pulled by a certain quote unquote influencer in the hobby. And then everyone seems like every comment was not every comment, but a lot of comments were like, "Oh, surprise, surprise!" Backdoor this, and the other. And it's interesting. Or even the reaction was fake because they knew it was coming. And it's interesting. Like this is it now. We can't trust anything. We can't trust anyone. Very negative space. Um, so I'm kind of glad I'm not too much in it, 'cause I think it can sort of bring the hobby into a negative space for you. And then when your hobby's in a negative space, it's not enjoyable. It's not enjoyable. You don't last long in it. So you know, that's why I'm not going too deep into this sort of stuff. I just sort of touch on sort of the newsy stuff, and then we move on because grinding. Um, so yeah, Fanatics did their part. Harry from London Card Show put I don't think he kept it up, but he did a Instagram live addressing it from his side. I thought it was interesting that the stick that Harry got, on some respects, right? Because he just hosts the show. If tops are in there and they're talking to people and they're going to give these influencers their loaded box, like what's he supposed to do? Like go to every vendor table, like, hey, what's your agenda for today? What you doing here? What you doing? Da, da, da. Like a lot, man. And he's got a lot of stick as well for like, oh, if this company's doing this and you're still partners, you're just as bad. I mean, nothing's proven yet. First off, at the end of the day, it's always innocent until proven guilty. And second off, man, like there's probably a massive amount of sponsorship that comes from that company, right? Which has helped grow London Card Show, which has helped grow the UK card scene. So I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't, I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. I'm just saying that, to then say, okay, we cut ties. Does that then put the next year of shows on a different scenario? Do they say also all of a sudden say, well, Excel's now not more accessible because we're losing the Fanatics sponsorship there. This is now this, we're going to slow down the growth because of this or the other. It's just interesting. It's just interesting. I know a lot of people seem to. He got a lot of stick, hasn't he? Really, Harry, and for being one of the sort of quote unquote backdoored breaker to get all this stuff with his double breaks team. One thing I always say to this sort of stuff as well, like, oh, they get loaded boxes because of this, they get loaded boxes because of that. If you really believe that and you're thinking that, then join their breaks, right? You know, if you think they get loaded boxes, start doing the breaks. You should say one big, right? I always say don't get involved in breaks. Period. It's gambling. You're just gonna lose your money. Buy the card you want. I guarantee it'll work a lot better. Even if it is investment purposes, if there'll be a time. You don't have to have it right this second time. It is. There's always timing. But that's for elite card investor to talk to you about, not me. We just talk fun stuff and hobby and fun times. So yeah, let's move on from that. Let's not get bogged down with I don't want to say negative stuff, but the not so nice side of the hobby at the moment. On the plus side, say what plus sides have we got? The yearly wrap up. I had a few people message. Not been a lot of what do actually to be considering I did ask what's been like the years. Not so much a rap scenario. I left that to Rainy. He did a good rap scenario. That looks really good. But it was just interesting hearing people's pros of the year, cons of the year, what people did like, what people didn't like. It was interesting about people that were like, oh yeah, this year I only went to London Card Show like twice a year, 3 times a year, as opposed to any other shows. I always wondered this with certain shows. Like I'm a big advocate for shows up and down the country, week in, week out. And I get it when people go, oh, well, vendors, this or the other. And it's, that's the way it is, but it will help grow the community if people can invest in a Nottingham card show. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I was thinking Newcastle card show, top of the country. Maybe you have a Nottingham. I was going to say Ipswich for the middle, but like a Nottingham card show, and then like a Essex card show, right, on the same weekend. So the spine, lots like up and down the country, three sort of gateways. So if you drive in, you've got options, right? If you live not too far, if you live in London, you probably go to Essex close. If you live Manchester, it might be Nottingham. If you live Durham, Newcastle's probably closer. One of them ones. One, it helps that little community that's in these areas, right? The Newcastles, the Nottinghams, the Essex. Two, it gives people options who are local. So maybe if they got time and they want to go, they sniff out there. And three, I get it for vendors. Vendors got a choice to make, but they don't all have to have the same vendors. They don't all have to be mixed shows. They don't all have to be sports only shows or TCT only shows. It then gives us the option, right? Essex might turn into somewhere where it's 80% Pokemon, 20% sports, and it might just be as local sports vendors that are local. You might get more sports vendors in Nottingham, for instance, just because of that surrounding area, and then less TCG. Then Newcastle might be a good 50-50 split. This is just hypothetical, but so you'll probably get vendors from closer areas. You might someone like P Commander, for instance, now has a store in Scotland. He might say, "We'll just do Newcastle. It's not too far a drive." Da da da. They might commit, say, "Oh, we've got like this guy for the shop, and we'll do Nottingham because we think it's going to be a bigger show." It gives them the option, right? Not every show has to be big. I remember a couple of years back, and we were talking about this with Rainey, a good friend of the channel. I hope you're getting on soon. I'll talk about later as well. I remember a couple of years back and having a show that was 50 tables was massive. 50 tables, Jesus. And everyone's like, "Oh, it's 100 tables. It's a small show." It's like, ungrateful. It's ungrateful. I miss the days of 35, 45 tables in there because usually they were tables with decent stock. You had more time to talk to people and build them connections and build the business that way from both sides. Um, and people were more willing to sort of like stick around afterwards as well. So they always back a bit of food afterwards and this and the other. And this is before sort of trade night. So you sort of go back food and all of a sudden it'll be just a handful of yous and you see another handful of driving and it's we're staying there so and you have like 16 people, a few couple of tables and how we got this, we pulled this, we got that, and a few more trades and sales would go on and it was just a good vibe. But it is what it is. But that's sort of like my point on my view, I suppose, on the car trips up and down the country that and I did wonder if like would people prefer that and go to sort of less of the bigger shows because of the outgoings, right? Would how sustainable is it for people to constantly go in to London 4 times a year, with accommodation, travel, it's a lot of money 4 times a year. It could add up to, just from me Manchester, it's 110 on a train, then a couple hundred staying over, so £300 just for that's before tickets or tables, etc. So let's just say just basics of getting there, and the weekend ticket. And I suppose that's the weekend as well. Like would everyone afford the weekend? Would you do it just for going up on a Friday night and Saturday and then going home Saturday night? There is options to understand, but just for the weekend, it's £200 accommodation and travel. I said then you get your ticket for the weekend, food. So it all adds up. So doing that 4 times, a year, you're over. You're closer to 1,005, really, aren't you? Than anything else there. And I get it. 1,005 may not be a lot to a lot of people, but 1,005 when you think about it is it's an extra 110 plus quid a month. In that budget, where would that 110 a month be better going? And again, everyone lives like close to a breadline that way, £100 each way. But could that £100 a month, let's say if you didn't go for one show, gives you, 330 plus pounds to invest elsewhere, right? Or to use to pick up a personal card that you may want elsewhere. So yeah, it's just one of the options. I thought that might be the case, but also I think FOMO is a big thing, and the size and the amount of content that comes out from the card show nowadays is kind of hard to miss. And I think it's only going to get bigger and better in some respects because of how big it's going. I think more companies, more people invest in the content side of it. So yeah, it's going to be crazy for 2026. I think more people will not want to sit from that side. But yeah, again, will finances play a big key into that, and with the amount of local shows that are popping up as well. So it'd be interesting. Um, what was interesting as well was the amount of people that was not loving um, the amount of products coming out, which we get, right. There's a lot of products coming out thick and fast. Um, it's kind of like not giving it a chance to breathe. Uh, and I do think it'll get worse. I think it'll get worse. Well, I can't remember. Let's just say by 2027, when tops literally have everything, it's going to be bedlam. Because I think then as well, like the licenses that Panini still has, they're going to try and pump out products because it's their only thing they got license for, right? So they're going to try and keep pumping out products to try and keep money flow, right? Keep the business going. Um, in some respects, I do uh, I do wish that Topps or Fanatics bought Panini just for the licensing rights. I'm in two minds. In one world, that'd be great, but they'd probably fleece us and they'd mess it up. But at least that way, we every year we'd get Prism rookies, up to rookies, autos either side, whether it's a Chrome, whether it's a Prism Silver. Um, so that's what we want from Hobby, right? They want the best design cards to be fully licensed, fully autoed, fully on card, fully game used patches or stuff. That's what we deserve, I believe. As a hobby, it's what we deserve. So on the flip side, like I said, you don't want the one company to sort of hold us to ransom. I could just see in a world where Fnatic sort of own collectors, whatever it's called, and all of a sudden they own PSA, SGC, and Beckett, and it's just one big cluster. So on the other hand, another way of doing it, which kind of could benefit, would be that no one company could have licenses sort of thing. So it's like the licenses are up each year. So NFL might say our license this year is 1.1 million, and then it's up to the companies, right? So Upper Deck might say, hey, we'll pay that as well. We can produce some products. Panini will say, yeah, we'll pay it. Topps will say, okay, well, every company's paying it. We won't pay it this year. We'll see what the market is like. See, people aren't getting fed up with so many different designs. So maybe that year we don't get Chrome. And then the year after they realize, hey, even with the market being flooded by Upper Deck or Wildcard, for instance, also they might pay for the license and Leaf might pay for license. So you might have all these companies paying for licenses. So someone else drops out, and then next year you might go, do you know what? Topps might say, do you know what, we'll pay the 1.25 it is this year ever, due to inflation. And then all of a sudden, everyone has the licenses, right? I think that'd be a better way of doing it, because then, especially those, I don't say smaller companies, but those companies that have been doing it on license for so long. Like, can you imagine what that could do to that company? Like, I thought Leaf have had some really good designs over the years, Upper Deck as well. Like, if Upper Deck could do what they did for ice hockey, like with the cup and stuff like that, to an NBA, to an NFL, like, could that be one of those sets that's revered for years? I think that would be kind of nice and a cool way of doing things. It would be interesting to see like what each company would value the sort of licensing at, and I suppose NFL and NFLPA as well would have to sort of maybe agree, or could set their own maybe, which would be interesting. If it would work that way, if you could have an NFL license but not an NFLPA license. But yeah, that would be strange, and vice versa. Could you have the player but not the team? But then how could that be? But yeah, I think it'd be cool just to again to help so many. Because can you imagine like Futera, for instance, like sign up and get the Premier League Championship, like League One sort of license, and Topps do it as well, and Panini do it, and maybe Futera branch out and do Formula One again, and properly in NFL and NBA, and was it Dakar over in Japan, I think it is, or China. Yeah, it'd just be interesting. It'd just be very interesting to give these other companies a shot and give it sort of, it's like a fair market then, right? The market price is this. If you want to pay it, it's up to you. But yeah, I think that'd be kind of, yeah. I know people say, well, you flood the market with cards. It'd be a jump wax era. Yes and no, because I think if you'd Well, yeah, maybe the companies would push out the products still. You know, maybe Panini would still push out, the Phoenix, the National Treasures, the Flawless, the this, that, the other. Or maybe it has to be more strategic, right? Because of Top having a license, because of Leaf having a license, Wildcard. So maybe a few Terra pops up, maybe a new company pops up. We've seen it with like Saturday morning cards, right? There's someone like Tyson Beck, for instance. Imagine if Tyson Beck then went and got it, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do like sort of 1 star from each team or something like, da da da." No, and then it's gonna be every pack where you get X amount of cards. They could do that way. I just think it makes it just a one team, one company doesn't have such a strong hold over us. But yeah, my thoughts. Let me know what you think. How should the licensing be worked? Should it work that way? Should just one company just have it and then that's it? And they should just buy other companies and make sure we get every card that we desire? Or should it be a fair game? Should it be every year, substitute to renew? Every company should be able to have the right to go for them licenses. So it's NFL, NBA, ice hockey, basketball, baseball. I've said NBA, it's idiots. Soccer, football, snooker, darts, lacrosse. I think it should all be pickleball, padel. I think that would work better personally. That's what I'd like to see. But yeah, who am I? Who am I, as they say? I'm hoping to do a round table again. I think they did one last year. I don't know. It might have been the year before. Been a whirlwind. Do a nice round table. It's going to be very difficult before the end of the year. Again, it's like 8 days left. By the time you listen to this, anyway. But yeah, I'm hoping to look and a round table. Get a few more sort of guests on just to sort of talk about their stories. A few people's stories that I've been like seeing a lot more of recently. And it's kind of like cool to get their story across. So yeah, hopefully look out for that in the next episodes or 2 or 3, depending on how everything works out. Because obviously it's Christmas, New Year's, people are busy. The round table's gonna be tough to do to round the year out. So it might be to start the year off. It'd be cool to get done before like big shows. But I know we get sort of straight into shows. Right, I think the first big show I can think of is the Manchester Card Con on the end of Jan. 31st. Is it what days in January? I don't know how many days in each month, so sue me. So yeah, there's that one. So it'd be tough, but we'll see. As always, well, not as always, because this is kind of a special one, because it's a Christmassy one. Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Kwanzaa, whatever it may be. Kwanzaa. But no, I hope you have a good festive period, end of the year. I hope you're all well. Appreciate the support over the past X amount of years. It's been appreciated. We didn't win an award, so no awards to take around to shows for you to all take a picture with, because again, it is your pod. Apparently, we were close. I don't know how true that is, but apparently we were close. Just lost out to the Pokemon community. I still think we're the best sports card podcast in the UK, if not Europe, because it's a community one, right? You guys make this pod. It's a two-way street. You message, I talk, and soon more you guys will be on it. It's the plan. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a good year. Hope you had a good year. Hope you're having a good year next year as well. I hope you have a good festive period. I hope you have a good New Year's. Make sure you don't have a New Year's resolution. Make sure you have something that you want to do, achieve, change, like accomplish by next year. Let's have a goal set. Let's do it that way. Do something. Whether that's gain muscle, lose weight. Maybe it's a card thing. Maybe you want to, turn 500 into 2,000. Maybe you just want to go to more shows. Maybe you want to be a bit more social. Maybe you want to do this or other. I might do something along the lines, like a little post and like keep you accountable post, accountability. I'm gonna try. My thing is to be more present on social. I knew I was gonna have a bit of time off, just with personal stuff in my life. But yeah, this next year, again, I'm hoping to grow the elite card investor side of things as well, with the Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Obviously, I want to keep the pack grip sort of down to pack grip YouTube will be sort of a bit of card show vlogs for my card shows and a bit of content on cards. And then Instagram will just be cards, stuff like that. The podcast will stay on probably the well, this podcast was done the pot group one. It'll just be hobby chat and guests, and there'll be a few guests on the Elite Card Investor channel as well, but less so, I'd say. But no, I appreciate you as always. Take care. Have a good one. See you guys on the other side. Peace.